Kamala Harris, California Attorney General, thank you so much for being here.
It's great to be with you. Thank you.
I've heard you call yourself a fighter so many times. Who are you fighting for and what are you fighting for?
The people. I mean, here's the thing. My background, I'm a daughter of parents who were active in the civil rights movement in the 60s. I'm a career prosecutor. Some people would say that's a false choice. I say absolutely not. And in my career as a prosecutor, there's a document I've always filed. That document never reads the name of the victim versus the name of the defendant. It always reads the people versus the defendant. Because in our system of justice, we have rightly said a harm against any one of us is a harm against all of us. And in particular, we know that that harm is most often directed at some of the most voiceless and vulnerable.
Speaking of the justice system, which you just mentioned, as you know, many argue it's a system for the haves and the have-nots. Is it a broken system? What needs to change? Does it need to be fixed?
The design of our system is a very good one, and I would hold it up against any other system in the world. But we have flaws, and there are aspects of it that are broken. But we can fix them. Let's commit ourselves to greater transparency in the system. Let's show what's going on. A system of justice will be perceived as just and will be just when it is transparent, not opaque. And let's commit ourselves to the importance of the relationship of trust amongst and between all of us, and with a particular emphasis on the relationship of trust between community and those of us who are sworn to protect those communities.
You talk to some folks, particularly in underserved minority communities, they're not happy with cops. You talk to other communities, they say cops are great. Where do you see it, and particularly with white police officers and black youth?
The vast majority of police officers are doing an incredible job and take their oath very seriously to protect other people. As it relates to the bad apples, there's no question that it does occur, and when it does, they need to be weeded out. Having said that, I will also say that it is a myth to suggest that communities of color and poor communities don't want law enforcement. They do. They don't want excessive force. They don't want racial profiling, but they absolutely want law enforcement. My office, the California Department of Justice, decided to take a critical look at this issue, and we developed the first in the nation training for police officers on implicit bias and procedural justice, and we've started training law enforcement in California on that issue.
Is Black Lives Matter helping or hurting the cause in some of these communities you mentioned?
I think Black Lives Matters is very important as an organization, as a movement, and on principle. It is important to make that statement.
Should folks stand for the national anthem?
We are all and should be treated as equals. We articulated those principles in our Constitution. And part of what we decided is what makes a fair and just and noble society and a democracy, a true democracy, is freedom of religion, freedom, right, of association, freedom to organize, First Amendment. So that is part of who we are as a country, and I will defend it to the core, which is that we give people certain choices in this country.
Let's talk education. California seems to be in a world of hurt these days.
A child going without an education is tantamount to a crime, in my opinion. California, one of the things that we have done that is fairly unique is we actually articulated in our state constitution that education is a right. And by the way, it's not access to education, as far as I'm concerned, that's the right. It's access to a meaningful quality education that should be the right. One of the areas of focus for me has been in particular on the issue of elementary school truancy and our youngest students receiving an adequate and consistent education. I created a new division of the California Department of Justice that I named the Bureau of Children's Justice. We focus specifically on what's going on with the education of our children as something that is going to, if we don't address it, impact us in terms of what's going on in our social services systems, our public health systems, and our public safety system.
As a U.S. Senator, how do you help bring jobs to California? How do you help improve the economy?
I am a very proud daughter of California, and I say that, I confess, with a bit of bravado. You can look at two industries in particular as being, homegrown in California and a leader in the country and the world. And that would be our entertainment industry and our technology industry. Incredible innovation and creativity coming out of these industries that are having national and global impact. Part of what we can do better is create incentives for that innovation and creativity, which invariably leads to jobs. It leads to us being more competitive as a country on a global scale. It produces better workforce development. The other part is that we have to invest in the jobs of the 21st century. The 21st century world is going to require more dedication to renewable energies so that we reduce our reliance on oil. And that's going to be investing in the technologies that are about wind and about water and about solar power.
Terrorism. How do we fight radical Islamic terrorism, other forms of terrorism, people who want to do harm to Americans, to this country?
We need to lead with strength always, and that means first priority protecting ourselves. And so we need to do that in a way that is about engaging our allies to do everything that is necessary to take out ISIS. We also have to understand that it is counterproductive to engage in this anti-Muslim rhetoric. It's actually playing into the hands of ISIS. And so let's understand what it means to actually be tough. As a career prosecutor, I've concerned myself with public safety my entire career. And tough, to me, means tough results, not tough talk.
We know Kamala Harris as the tough district attorney, the tough California attorney general. What don't we know about you?
I love to cook. I have an herb garden. I go to Soul Psych like twice a week. There you go. I don't think most people know those things.
Kamala Harris, California Attorney General, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.